I think the biggest piece of evidence that there are alternate universes out there, despite there not being within a 20-mile radius any sort of tree that would ever grow a leaf like this. Every morning when I get up, a ton of these are laying in my yard. Look at this thing, it's huge. Kind of reminds me of what the dudes on either side of Quetzalcoatl would have as they're fanning him. Let the orgy begin. I believe I got the vapors. Just saying, that is a big leaf. All right, we're not here to talk about leaves, we're here to talk about fragrance. And if you stop by to check out my first impressions of a brand new release by Hugo Boss Bottled Elixir, don't think you stopped by a conspiracy theorist channel by mistake. There are no aliens and artifacts here, just some fairly strong opinions about some fantastic fragrance. So we've got that and more coming up, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about a fragrance line that I really enjoy. Some people don't really care for the Hugo Boss bottled line because it can have some relatively weak sauce kind of fragrances. Some people aren't really in tune with Hugo Boss releases, and that's fine. Hugo Boss releases, and in particular Boss Bottled, are clearly for the relatively low impact first time user or just your average fragrance or cologne user out there. But that doesn't mean they can't produce some really good fragrances, and for my money, I have really enjoyed the Boss Bottled Eau de Parfum release. I think that's a fantastic, spicy, sweet, sexy fragrance for men. And then of course after that, we've got Boss Bottled Parfum. And then next up, what we're going to be talking about today, of course, they had to release Boss Bottled Elixir. Most of the time when you think of Elixir, at least most people think of it in terms of how many actual ingredients make up the recipe, when in fact Elixir is in reference to the concentration of oils. You may have heard of parfum or extrait de parfum or parfum extrait. Some independents even use the phrase pure perfume oil. But most designers and even niche brands will often defer to the simplicity of the word elixir. All it means is you have a heavier concentration of oils, anywhere from between 15 to 40%. Now that's a broad variance, a broad difference. So how can you tell those fragrances that are elixirs that have the heavier concentration of oils? Price is the biggest tell. Price, and of course the aroma. Today we're going to be taking a look at Boss Bottled Elixir. I'll give you my first impressions on this fragrance. Before we do anything else though, let's take a quick look at the presentation. I like the dark chocolate and gold kind of theme. On the front you've got the shadow of the bottle in gold, and in dark chocolate letters Boss, and then Bottled below that, and then Elixir Parfum Intense. On the right side of the box you have these two matte strips going down the center, and in the very center of those strips you've got a scannable QR code. On the left side, just the two matte strips. On the back of the box they actually have the highlighted notes, or what I call trifecta of notes: the top notes, the heart notes, and the base notes, which we'll go into more detail about. They've got boss.com as the web address, the ingredients listing, and more additional information. On the bottom of the box is another QR code, UPC, and the batch code 3240 if you want to look that up on checkfresh.com, and additional information. The top of the box has Boss in gold. The bottle is a chocolate brown, and despite being darker than the Boss Bottled Parfum edition, it is a bit more see-through. The cap itself is like a metallic bronze. The top of the cap is fully painted in that dark chocolate with the gold letters Boss in the middle. The bottom of the bottle has some additional information along with a batch code of 3240. On the front of the bottle is embossed Boss and then Bottled Elixir in gold. So staying true to form to the whole Boss Bottled presentation, this is exactly the same as the previous rendition. I'll even show it to you. This is Boss Bottled Parfum. The bottle is a bit more translucent than was the Parfum edition. The cap is darker on the Parfum version, whereas this is a bit more metallic, and the difference, of course, of the top of the cap is painted, with the exception of the Boss was left that same metallic color of the bottle. So the primary difference in the presentation are just those things that I mentioned. So now that we know what the bottle looks like, let's talk a little bit about the notes. And again, guys, this is just a very quick, brief introduction to the world of Boss Bottled Elixir. I'm not going to do any kind of comparisons, even though I want to. You know me, I always have to do a right side to left side comparison of the previous flanker and compare the two differences. I'm going to save that for a later date, with the idea of kind of sharing with you my thoughts on which is the best Boss Bottled. But we're going to focus solely on giving you my first impressions of this aroma and talking about the notes. Speaking of which, what are the notes that make up Boss Bottled Elixir? Just like previous Boss Bottled flankers, they do list the notes on the back of the box. We're just getting the trifecta, or the highlighted notes. In the top, there is incense essence. The heart of the fragrance contains vetiver essence, and then the base is a cedarwood essence. Now, if you go to fragrantica.com or parfumo.com or other websites that list different notes, what they actually say is that there's frankincense and cardamom in the open. The heart has patchouli and vetiver, and the base has cedarwood and labdanum absolute. I'm not going to say nay to that, and I'm not going to say that's really what's in there because I don't know, but I'll tell you what my nose thinks when we get our nose on the fragrance. Once you take the lid off, you have a decent size atomizer that is gold with a clearly marked black, I'll say, aperture, so it's easy to see where the spray nozzle is on the fragrance, and then I'll give it a pump or two here to show you what it sprays like. A good portion of the fragrance comes out. After smelling the open of this, the first thing that I want to say to all of you out there that really enjoy Boss Bottled Eau de Parfum, as you can see, I really like this spicy kind of fragrance, softer, spicy fragrance. That's not what you're getting in this. Of course, it's two flankers away. I wasn't really expecting to smell that, but I was expecting to smell a bit more of it. It's getting away from that. Boss Bottled Eau de Parfum has more of a rich, sweet tobacco orientation, even though there's no tobacco notes in there. And while the Elixir smells definitely more closely associated with Boss Bottled Parfum, the overall DNA or structure definitely smells a bit simpler. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I do want you to know straight up what you're getting. Simply put, Boss Bottled Elixir is a bold, masculine statement. Again, marking the differences from the EDP to this one, I would say anybody could wear. It does definitely lean more on the masculine side than it does the feminine side, but anyone could probably get away with wearing this, but this one is definitively masculine. Why would I say that? Because it's very starkly contrasting in its use of notes. My nose does pick up a bit of the nuttiness in the open, but mostly where you go is straight to that incense. That incense is so powerful that it kind of puts me in mind of Chopard's black incense Malaki, but it does have kind of a nod towards a mineralic or shell-like resin, something similar to labdanum absolute. So that's why I think that labdanum may also be in this fragrance, even though it's not a listed note. But you are for sure getting an overload of incense. Now the vetiver is what gives this a little bit more warmth, cuts off that dry cold of the incense. Incense isn't necessarily warm. Vetiver is definitely coming back to the more warm side. If I had to put a color on it, it's kind of like a burnt orange. Finally, full circle to a rich cedarwood, woody base. There's a fixative in all men's fragrance. For this one, I'm gonna have to put my money on like a labdanum absolute or some form of absolute resin. It's very warm, it's very strong, it's very rich, it's very pungent. When you first spray this on, it is a room filler. It's not something you want to wear around people that are sensitive to fragrance. It's more similar in body and style to like a Boss Bottled Oud Aromatic or Boss Bottled Oud Saffron. Carries itself in a similar way in terms of weight, the sillage trail that it creates. So in the open to the mid is a very powerful, very pungent, very voluminous fragrance. So it definitely puts me in mind of an extrait de parfum, something that has somewhere around 20 to 25% concentration of oils. And that fits within the category of Elixir, although on the lighter side of an Elixir, not necessarily toward like a niche fragrance, which most niche brands, if they call themselves an extrait de parfum, they're usually around 40% concentration of oils. So it's not quite that heavy, and that's going to bring the price down when it hits discounters. That's why you're going to be able to get it for cheaper than what you can get it at retail. Right now at retail, you're looking at $140 plus, depending upon where you get it. I got mine from hugoboss.com. That's what you're going to pay directly from the designer's website. It feels like it's getting closer to being worth that price point. I can't really complain. Whereas with Boss Bottled Parfum, just about every one of the Hugo Boss, the scent Private Accord, the scent Absolute, the scent Intense, the scent Parfum, the scent Magnetic, the scent Le Parfum, all of those, I think I got them all, maybe not, but all of those, it feels like are related to this Boss Bottled Parfum. So it feels less associated to this and more like kind of like its own thing. It's taking the note breakdown in the Parfum edition and it's going towards more of like an oudy type. Of course, it doesn't have oud, doesn't smell like oud, but I just mean in terms of the richness, it's more closely associated with oud aromatic, oud saffron. There's very little sweetness in this, but there's a bit in the open. That sweetness dries up, completely goes away in the dry down. This one is going to last a while. It's going to last a while off your skin. Is it going to give you 12 hours plus like Sauvage Elixir or some of the other designer elixirs that are out there? Maybe, I don't know. But I don't feel like it probably will. The Boss Bottled line has always been slightly performance challenged. As an elixir, it's powerfully punching, pungent, and all of that when you first spray it on, and creating a really good scent trail, This is a decent, like 4 to 5 foot bubble, which is what an extrait de parfum, or elixir in this case, should do because of that really strong, powerful, pungent oils and incense that really smells like a modern man's elixir that is presented here under the presentation of Boss Bottled. So I really like it. I do. I like it. There are going to be people that poo-pah it, that say, no thanks, not for me, whatever, this is cheap. This is a cop-out, this is whatever negative thing that they say. But if you like incense, if you like wood, if you like the dryness of vetiver, when combined with these two notes and kind of the masculine, sexy results, you'll like Boss Bottled Elixir. And you know, if you want to wait till it hits discounters, it'll be significantly reduced like all of them. I would say this one is a bit more refined than even Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir. Definitely less sweet. So you don't like sweet, you'll like this. You'll enjoy that about it. If you need something to dress up to, but you like the tonal quality of incense and wood and vetiver together. But I can't talk about the performance other than hope as an elixir that it will last a lot longer than its predecessors. Well guys, that's it for my first impressions of Boss Bottled Elixir. Again, really enjoy the overall DNA. It's been one of my favorite that Hugo Boss has ever done, and I think they've done a pretty good job in creating their version of a popular trend now, the elixir for men. But again, it may be something that's a little bit more performance challenged than some of the other elixirs out there. Time will tell, and I will tell when I do a full review of the fragrance. I'll give you the skinny on the actual performance. This fragrance is about 3 months or so old, so it's not new, but it's still new enough to present this first impressions of a new fragrance. But if you own it, let us know what your thoughts are of Boss Bottled Elixir. Guys, thanks so much for checking out today's video. As always, thank you so much for your continued support of my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video review.